Hey guys, welcome back to another video of Impossible Mowers. Now, this is not the sort of beginning of a video I would like to be making with this unit, but to start off with, we were supposed to do wheel bearings the other week, and while recording I realized two things. Number one, the nut I had for the wheel bearings is off. You know, I was hearing some people say it's a 32 millimeter, some people say it's a 30 millimeter nut. I didn't have any of those. I thought it would be like a 29 or something, so I didn't have one. So I ordered a socket, deep socket kit for these nuts. So we're going to be waiting on that, as well as the rear wheel bearings here are not the same as the front, which I knew, but there's a catch that I didn't know, and that's that these rear wheel bearings are a press fit. So they have a bearing that comes out of the knuckle housing, which is the whole thing here. Not the brakes, pads, and rotors, but when you take the tire off, the brakes, pads, and rotors off, it's called a knuckle assembly, and apparently these rear wheel bearings are a press fit assembly. So what does that mean? That means I have to take the old bearing out and put a new bearing in before I can press fit a new wheel bearing in. To give you a visual on what that may look like, you can see here, this is what a regular wheel bearing looks like right here. You can see it's got the plug, it's got the 3 bolts, it's got the port for the CV axle, all good. This one is different. This is the bearing that needs to be pressed into the knuckle housing, and then the wheel bearing itself gets pressed in as well, and that all is a part of one assembly. So the knuckle assembly is with the wheel bearing, so it's all one piece. But I probably did know this, but I just forgot it because just so many things going on. I forgot that all of that is needed. Yeah, you need to assemble all that. I don't know why, but when I bought these wheel bearings, I knew you had to assemble them, but I forgot you had to assemble them in a way. I knew what I was getting into, but I really didn't actually understand it too much until present day. So that's not that big of a deal. It just means that when we go to do the wheel bearing job, hopefully this week, if not the weekend, I'll record it and then post it for next week or something. But all that means is when I go to do these wheel bearings, we are going to be taking this to our local garage, and they're going to be pressing it in for us because I do not have a press. So not that big of a deal, but just wanted to share with you guys. That's the reason why we haven't been posting so much, is this Ford, and I saw this coming. It's like you try to start a project, and then there's that one piece. Everybody has that one project car where they forget that one piece. And in my example, I forgot the wrong socket for the hubs. So I figured, you know what? I'll just get a whole new deep socket set. I got it off of, I think, like Harbor Freight, but they didn't have them in stock, so they're getting shipped to me. Hopefully we can get them here by Thursday and start making the video on Saturday or Sunday. Fingers crossed, weather provided. It is good. But other than that, we're looking pretty good. We found a tailgate. I think I already mentioned that before. It's just about picking it up and negotiating a price with the guy at the junkyard, which is not that big of a deal anyways. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like things are happening, but things are happening. But the other reason, I'll keep my camera pointed down because I don't want to show you guys until I'm ready. The other reason why we haven't been posting so much is last minute. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, you never know when this is going to happen to you. This happens with car enthusiasts. It happens with mower enthusiasts like myself. I'm both a car and mower enthusiast. But out of nowhere, I couldn't help it. I saw it, and I know its purpose around here. Before I even tell you guys what I got, I'm going to show you a view of the mowers here, and I want you to point out what's new. That's new, and that's new. Let me walk you through them. This mower I bought 2 years ago, but it was kind of a challenge for me to pick it up because I had so many things going on already. And I believe it was right around the time we got the pool on. But this is I think late 80s, early 90s Craftsman. It's the same body style as the pool on, at least the same hood structure. Body wise, it is a little different. It's actually a lot different. The Poolon has the curve, whereas this has more of a square body look, but it's a 4-lug automatic transmission with a Vanguard. Ugh. not Vanguard, a Kohler 22 horsepower V-twin up front. And let me get close so I can show you guys. But pretty much what happened was, you know, you can imagine I'm trying to make this video and I get hit up for these two mowers, and one of them I already bought, I just needed to pick up. And then that wheel horse over there was free. I said I couldn't help myself. I can see that being a good unit for the channel, some good channel content. So we ended up picking those up, and that delayed video time by a good margin. But let me give you the specs on this unit. We got a nice seat, like I said, automatic transmission with the high and low. They call it a high and low. It's just a regular automatic transmission. Rear gas tank. Here's the model number in case you guys are interested. You guys can type that in and look it up. Like I said, automatic, everything works. I did get to see this thing run. I know it runs, but it needs some TLC. But everything's here. We have the transmission, the engine, the clutch system. We have a belt. We have a front end. These front ends are my favorite. I call them the LT1000 front ends for a reason. Craftsman, in my opinion, was the first mower year to come out. They were the first mower model. Sorry, brand. Christ. They were the first mower brand to come out with a steering system that worked, and I mean worked well. The older stuff did too, but this is a different kind of steering system, and I call it the LT1000 steering system because my Craftsman LT1000, they took the same design and they made it even better. And here's why. You have a shaft right here that rides on a kind of like a, not a gimbal, that's not the right word, like a bushing right here. So you got the shaft to the bushing, and then that goes, get all these cobwebs out of the way, goes all the way down, and it sits on a flat plate. That plate spins like this. Every time you turn the wheel, it goes like this, and the gears are in the front. It spins like this, turns like this, and it turns another gear. I call it a bowl gear. There's another word for it, I'm sure. And that gear has another plate on the bottom. So you got plate, gear, plate with two arms. So when you turn this, it turns the gear, which then turns the plate and the two arms and gives you steering. The reason why this is really good steering is when you look at steering like this guy, the really bad steering, if I can open the hole, Jesus. The steering in here, it's a geez, it's a shaft that comes down to a bushing, but it's really bad gearing. So instead of the steering being plated, it has two axles, not axles, geez, it has two gears that come out and they turn. And the reason being is because that's just the way that they could do them back in the day. And it is pretty cheap steering. It's not very good. This steering is really good, and it's the reason why the Poulon is silky smooth. But anyways, I wasn't here to talk to you guys about steering, but you can see got the Kohler in front here, and it's a nice unit. We're missing some pieces, but most of it's here, and it's got flames on it. I mean, whoa. Alrighty guys, we got our wiring, electrical tape, switches, lights. We're ready to rock and roll. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to find out where we want these lights and where we want the switch or switches. I'm going to be running one switch on this whole entire system because it just makes sense to me. So, light placing. I was thinking of having the Husqvarna, bear with me here. This spot is where like a plastic piece would go, a little cover. And I figured, well, maybe instead of replacing that piece, we just put the lights right here. There's already a hole for the wire to slide through. And it doesn't look half bad. I don't know, what do you guys think? I think it looked pretty cool. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And then what I was also thinking was we take this one right here, we place it right here. I think that would look pretty badass. Line them up, true them up, make it so that side is close to, if not the same, height, and you know, make them both look good. One here, one there. Make sure they're all the same height. Make sure they're all the same position. So I think that would look pretty good. So now that we have the positioning of the lights set, because I think that's gonna look pretty freaking sharp, we're gonna see how much wiring we're gonna need here. It makes sense, you know, you want to make sure you have the same gauge wire. and you want to make sure, you know, I at least like to make sure they're all the same color. You know, you don't want to have a pink, a red, and the blue, and then find out where, you know, is the blue positive, you know, all that good stuff. So, ooh, Hornet. I think I got him. Okay. So, we're going to see how much wiring we're going to need. Now, keep in mind, this style of lighting is going to be different. It's not going to be as simple as just hooking it up to a switch and off you go. If you want to have what I want, which is light synchronization, they call it here, you have to do it a certain way. So looking at this pattern, we're going to have a positive and a negative wire all connected to each other on the system. So what does that mean? We're going to have 4 lights on this mower. We're going to make sure all the positives and all the negatives are connected to each and every light. Why is that? We want to make sure that when we turn the lights on, they all come on at the same time. And we also want to make sure that when we go to flip through different switches, there's going to be different selecting switches here, flash mode, amber mode, like there's going to be all these different modes. We want to make sure they're all going to be on the same mode. We don't want to have this guy just be on and then these other guys are flashing. Wouldn't look pretty good. Wouldn't make sense either. So we're going to make sure all the negatives and all the positives of the lights, as you see here, are all connected together, but one of the lights is not going to be connected to the next one. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to have this one connected to this one, both positive and negative, this one connected to this one connected to this one, and then this guy we're then going to hook up to the battery and the switch. Now this is where it gets a little complicated, because at the same time you also have to be connecting the yellow and white wire the same thing. So pretty much all these wires are going to be connected to each other, but this light is going to be our position light, you know, I would call it. It's going to be where all the changes are going to be made. So instead of going from here, 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 back to here, we're going to go here, 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 here. This is going to go to the battery and to the switch, if that makes sense. And the same thing goes, like I said, for those positive and negatives for the white and yellow wire here. Now when we read the diagram here, it tells us everything we need to know. The yellow wire, this is just for this kind of wire and this kind of light system. This is a really good light system, guys, and I'm going to leave this in the description. I'm not sponsored by them at all, but if you want to find out where to get these nice lights, in the description below. Anyways, the yellow wire is, you know, the red and black should be self-explanatory, positive and negative. The yellow wire is our channel selector. It's going to be responsible for giving us different modes. And then the yellow wire, the white wire, is kind of our current carrier. It's just a useless wire. All it does is it's taking the current from the yellow wire and continuing it. That's all. So, if that makes sense to you. We'll make sure that we explain this. I'll explain this a lot better when we go to actually install them. Now you don't have to use, you know, they're showing you here, if they were all together, you use a white wire. You don't have to use a color white wire. You can use a red wire, a black wire, a pink wire. It doesn't matter. As long as this stretch of wire between the yellow and the red, it could be yellow and pink if you have pink wire. As long as they're all doing the same job, it'll work. And, you know, the mode selection isn't that big of a deal for me, because even if it doesn't work out, you can just take the yellow wire and just connect it to the battery for a quick second and you switch modes. It's pretty simple. But with all that, whew, that's a mouthful. They do give you right here on the diagram what each one means. You can see red, positive, black, negative, yellow, pattern selection. Yellow touches red wire for less than 1 second to next mode, and then the white wire is connected to yellow wire of the next light for flash synchronization. So all, like I said, all that is doing is it's making sure it's continuing the current between the yellow wire onto the next light. So, you know, when you switch modes, they're all switching modes. It's not you're only switching this one on and then the others stay blank. They all are in synchronization. I know that's a mouthful, but I mean, if you guys want to put these nice lights on your mowers, you gotta have a good brain for it, and you gotta pay attention to the instructions. You don't have to follow these word for word. It's pretty simple. Like I said, if you wanted to have a different wire other than white, you can just take the white wire from this guy, right, and connect it to a different kind of wire, as long as it's roughly the same gauge. And you know, this is a 12-volt system. We're not shoving anything big here. They're just lights. So You know, you can connect this black wire to this white one and it does the same job. I'm not going to be doing that, but you can do that. So don't feel that you have to only get white, you have to only get yellow. You know, you don't have to. It's just, it's wire. They're just colored so that you don't cross connect different wires together. Now that that is done, if you guys, let me tell you something, you might want to, you know, you might want to look at this diagram a little more carefully here. If you want to take a picture right now, screen share it, or take a picture of it. Screenshot, that's what's called. Look through it pretty carefully, it is pretty important. The switch has its own diagram too. This is a lot more simpler. What we have here is we have our switch right here. We have two positives and a negative, or ground as they would call it. So some of them call them ground, but this is implementing a negative. That's what's shown here on the graph. So we have the positive. So this side positive right here, it's going to go to the positive of the battery. So you're going to go from positive of the switch to the positive of the battery. You're going to go from the negative of the switch to the negative of the battery, and you're going to go to the negative of whatever you're plugging into. So at some point, this light right here is going to come back and it's going to hook up to the negative on this switch, which will then go from this switch to the battery. Everything comes to this switch. All of your lights and stuff, you're not going to wire them directly to the battery. It may have sounded like I was talking about that before, but no. All of your lights and stuff are going to come to the switch. It's up to the switch to wire to the battery. Very important you know that. If you have your lights strictly wired up to the switch, you can blow them out because they do not have a fuse on them. These wires, you know, like I said, they're lights. We're not pushing a lot of amps or volts, sorry. But you know, it's nice to be able to turn these on and off and have control over them. So all of that stuff is going to come to the switch. Then we're going to take the positive, like I said before, the positive of the lights, bring them to the switch. And then everything goes from the switch to the battery. So the switch, you can see here, it's doing most of the battery work. The lights, they're just being hooked up to here. Alrighty guys, I got the Husqvarna a little closer to the shop so we can get a, geez, I can't speak today. Get a drill a little closer. So the first thing we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to install some lights. So let's see, I'm going to go like this. This is just kind of rough. Let's see, probably going to want something like that. Make sure it's trued up. It's looking pretty good there. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to see if I can't find a pen or a marker. We're going to align these up, line the holes up, and don't forget we got a nice nut and bolt kit too, so we don't have to worry about that. And then I'm gonna drill some holes and, you know, turn the camera back on, and hopefully when this is back, you guys will see a nicely mounted light. So without further ado, let me do a quick little finger snap. I think that'll be pretty cool. I haven't done one in a while. 3, 2, 1. Bam! Just like that, guys, we got it installed. Nice on there, good and firm. That's looking good already. Now the other side's gonna be a little tricky, and I figured I'd show you guys. I gotta show you at least how to put one of them on. Can't always keep skipping. You guys gotta see something. This one's gonna be a little tricky because the hood has taken damage from the past right here. So instead of it being directly underneath the model number, like the other one is, it's right around there on the other one, it's just going to be down a little bit. I really don't care. I'm not that big of a stickler on it, but you know, I don't want it to be like that, you know, somewhat even. So I'll show you here what we do. Get it nice and even. Even Steven. See if I can't place the camera in a good spot. Hopefully you guys can see that well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this nice and even. I'm going to eyeball it a little bit here. Eyeball engineering. Make it look nice. Gonna take my marker and I'm just gonna poke a little hole. Not poke a hole, but I'm gonna make a little indentation there. Indentation there. Double check before I actually make it concrete. Okay. I wonder if this marker's, I think this marker's going bad. This marker is going bad. What we'll do anyways is probably just grab a screwdriver or something, Grab something like this. Make it nice and straight. Somewhat. Grab it, slap it in there, turn it around a few times. And you can see, I can see it at least, there's a little mark. Oh, it is good. Maybe I just wasn't reaching. Right there. And there's mark number 1. Usually, you know, you want to take the Sharpie and poke it through, but I think the metal's just thick enough to where it's not getting through, and this tip looks like it's seen better days. But that's pretty much it. You know, so you line it up again. You can see there's a... See if I can't angle the camera, let it focus right. You can see right in there. Black Sharpie. Hey, you probably can't even see it. There's a Sharpie mark in there. So, I'm gonna make my second one. I apologize if the view isn't the best. I am working on getting a camera stand because my other one broke in action. So this guy, once he's all slid in, he's gonna want to sit roughly. Try to make it nice. Roughly right there. Okay, so now we're going to double check, make sure our holes are on the money. These holes are perfectly on the money. So now we have our drill marks indicated. We can now grab the drill. The kind of drill bit I'm using, it's a Hercules bit, but it's hard metal drill bit. Looks kind of like that. And we'll start drilling here. But I'm actually I'm reminding myself I might want to choose a better drill bit, something smaller, because the bolts that they give you are a little small. They're pretty freaking tiny, and when I went to go drill that light in, I didn't realize that the holes were too big, but I had washers on me. But I know if I keep drilling them like that, I'm going to run out of washers, and then we're going to be stuck. So we're going to look here. Let's see. That's more like our speed. What was that? 5:30 seconds? Sorry if my hand was in the way of the camera there. Let's see. Where's the light? It's over here. Perfect, yep, 5:30 seconds. So now we can drill these holes, and we can use the bolts and nuts that they give us, and we won't have a fuss. I'm gonna put this onto the drill bit, and then we'll start drilling, and I'll mount it on camera. So I'm probably gonna drill off camera because I don't have a stand, and I don't want to waste the GoPro battery. And then we'll come back and we'll mount it together. I think it'll be pretty cool, so stay tuned. Alrighty guys, we got our small Phillips screwdriver and our nuts and bolts. You can see what I mean by these nuts are pretty tiny. But that is why you measure and you have tools, so you do not have to get them wrong. Okay. Don't want to lose any of these nuts, so sorry if I'm a little slow. Alright, so we're going to press them up. Double check my bolt holes. They are on the money. Beautiful, that's perfect. Slide one in there. I'm going to put a nut to boot with that. Kind of got my second hand around the hood here. Just kind of doing that. Screwing it in place. So that's somewhat on there. And then we put the second one in. And just like that, it's that simple. Perfect. You can see there, it's just about on. You blink too hard and you blink for 1 second and it's already on. So now I'm going to put you guys right over here. You guys can see there is the light. Oh, there's the light. It's almost perfect. It's like I didn't even have to drill those holes for right here. It's perfect. Crazy. Grab our vice grips or pliers, sorry, and our Phillips, and we're just going to tighten it down. Nice and tight. Let's see here. Same thing here. Nice. And now that's on. Nothing to it really. Oh, it's looking good already. I can't wait to wire this thing up. Woo! So now what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do this off camera. I'm going to take the mower, turn it over, and turn it around, make it so that the ass end is here. We'll put the ass end lights on, and then we'll start showing you guys the wiring and get to it. I don't want this video to be too long, but let's get to it. Alrighty guys, I actually figured maybe instead of just cutting all this stuff out, I'll do a couple finger snaps. We'll do 2 for the rear lights, and then we'll start working on the wiring. Actually, we'll mount the switch, then we'll start working on the wiring. So without further ado, start with this one. 3, 2, 1. Boom, got that one in. And now I will admit I was getting a little gun-ho, a little excited, because that is on awesome and it's looking amazing. And I already started to drill this one, but we could still give it a finger snap. Of course, however, before I do want to show you guys what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is I'm drilling a bigger hole in the center first, and I'm marking the position of this light. So this light is this many, you know, it's whatever many inches away from where this plastic ends, both high and low. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm kind of marking it, and then I have a dot here to see how high I should go. I'm drilling the center hole out first, along with a smaller hole that goes out the back, because we have a smaller wire that comes out of a generally bigger hole here. And I want this to be a snug fit. If we don't drill those holes, it's gonna work, but there's gonna be a little bit of space between the light and the bumper here, because this little mounting hole here, whatever you want to call it, this little uprise, it's going to be causing that space between the light and where it's being bolted. So you know, damn, that plane's flying pretty low. Sorry, that was out of the blue. But you don't want to do that, because you might kink the wire or you might break the actual piece. You know, these were not meant to be folded or bent, they were meant to be put on flush. And you can see here, we'll put these wires in first, nice and easy, just test fitting. Just test fitting. Put these wires in, group them together, here we go. And of course, when the light is in, we can then get our measurements for the side holes. But you see, when I put this in now, see how there's no space in between it? It's nice and solid. If I didn't do this, it would be like that. There would be a little bit of space. But you know what I just noticed? That is perfect. Look at that. Hopefully the camera focuses. You guys can see that. It goes perfectly right in. Snugs up nice. And I'm going up and down with it. I'm going left and right. And it's not giving. There's no give. So that is perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm using this size drill bit. What is this? Christ, if I can read. 22 something? I don't know. Not good with drill bits, but I'm using that size. So that's pretty much the way I'm doing it. Remember guys, if you're gonna put this kind of stuff on your mud mower, make sure it's marine proof. Don't go buying the cheap stuff, because even though the cheap stuff sounds like it's for the outdoors and stuff, listen, condensation can happen. We get -degree temperatures up here up north, and let me tell you something. If you're planning to use these and make them last, spend the few bucks. These were about $50, but I got them on sale on Amazon for 37 bucks. So I got a good break on them, but you know, may not have been that lucky. And the same with the switches. We get the marine proof ones because they're good for negative temperatures, outdoors, winterized, and marine is usually for the boats, right? So that means it's waterproof, and these are waterproof, not water resistant, waterproof. So at the end of the day, it's all about what you want to do with your mower, but I'm the kind of guy that likes to put on the good stuff because it lasts a good while. You know, we've been running off these kind of off-road lights for years, and we've had this is the same company we used for Chucks, and these have been on for about 4 or 5 years now, so they work amazing. So yeah, you can kind of see the similarity between the two. But anywhoville, that's kind of the way I'm doing it. You guys might have a different way because these do have these plastic beer holders and oh shit bars instead of just a solid metal bumper, which it is. You can see underneath there's some solid metal, but they kind of fold it over with this plastic stuff. So another thing to watch out for, guys, make sure you're running your wires away from the tires, and I like to run mine away from the mud and brush. So what I'll do is I'm probably going to take these wires and I'm going to have it follow the footrest, or I'll bring it to the center and go down the center, because most of the protection is going to be through the transmission and stuff. So when you're off-roading and you hit a snag or you hit a brush, big sticks coming through, they don't grab onto the wires and rip them out. So you do want to be careful about that. Zip tie them or bolt them, I don't care how you do it. Make sure you're doing it in a way that sticks and any sort of element isn't going to get in there and rip it out. I've had that happen before, and it's a bitch. And it can cause some pretty bad stuff to happen. So just be careful about that. And yeah, so without further ado, let's finger snap this. 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, guys. Bam. Got that sucker in solid. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start on the switch. We're going to doll that up and install that, and then we're going to start tearing into the wiring, and hopefully we can get it done before the day is over. I didn't think it would take this long, but you know what? Sometimes you got to take your time with some of these. If we don't have enough time for the Cadet, then I'll just post an Instagram short on it or a YouTube short for you guys. But at least you guys can at least see how you get to install them. It's, you know, what you're seeing here is the exact same process for the Cadet. So hopefully we have enough time to do both, but if not, we can at least enjoy this beautiful one. So without further ado, let's get to that switch. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, switches. Now this is going to be tricky. Well, it can be tricky, but it's really very simple. When you have switches that look like these, all you do is you take the top nut off, which is holding down this plate and the trigger, and just leave it bare switch like this. The reason why is because your switch, you want to pay attention to your switch position. You can see here on this nut, it's kind of like a keyway. They do that on purposely so that when you go to put this on, see if I can show you here. When you go to put this on, right here down the switch, there's a little key right there. See right there? That way, when you put this on, you can then identify the on and off switch size. So you know that this is on, you know that right here, this is off. And then you know that when you go to flick this up, Jesus, you can flick it up and turn it on. Now with that said, you want to make sure that you're putting the switch the right way. Some people like it upside down because it's a little easier for them, but I'm going to do it the regular way. So now that we know that this is down, this is on, so on, off, we're going to mount the switch just like this, not like this, like this. Terminal facing down, keyway facing down as well. With that said, instead of making this into a big thing, all you really have to do is just measure the size or the diameter of this hole right here, these threads, drill a hole accordingly, stick it from the backside in, and then bolt in your plate, and that's going to hold the switch in. It's pretty simple, and what makes it a lot easier on this unit more than others is the fact that this Husqvarna, I've already done the classic stuff to this. If you've been on this channel long enough, you know that we delete a lot of the BS that you don't need, such as the safety sensors and stuff. I kept the safety sensor because it's actually kind of useful. I've used it a few times, but you can see how empty the space is. We have a lot of room to play around with here, and we had just have all the unnecessary stuff just pulled out. So you do want to be making sure that you're doing this in somewhat of a reachable area. But you can see here, if I'm mounting it way over here, there's a lot of space to move around with. I can get to my negative terminal and I can get to my positive terminal without any problem. Now this is a battery, this is battery mounted from the front. For you guys that are doing this, if you're doing it for a battery mounted in the rear, obviously it's going to be different. You're probably going to want to run it from the dashboard down through the frame, or run it down through the side. There's a lot of ways you can do it, or you may not even want it on the dash at all. It might just be simpler for you if you had mounted it right here onto the back wall here where your knees would go, or sorry, your the back of your legs would go. But for us, we're going to mount it right here. Always make sure you're mounting this stuff properly, because let me tell you something, we do a lot of you know, it depends on what you're using your mower for, but we do a lot of aggressive off-roading, as you guys know. A lot of vibrations, a lot of this going on, a lot of shaking. We want to make sure this switch is in nice and solid, and it's just not going to fall off. So with that said, I'm going to grab the drill. We're going to find the right drill size. I'll give you guys the size, you know, in case you guys find these switches, or if you want to buy them from the link I have below, you at least already know what it's about as far as size goes. You don't have to dick around. So let's get to it. Alrighty guys, so this size right here, as far as the drill bit scale goes, I do believe, yeah, no, I think I was right. It's an 1864 size bit. I'm going to be going for a 2364 or a 24. I forgot what size it is, somewhere around there. Now that is pretty damn small. The reason why is because I do want this to be a snug fit. I don't want to have a perfect hole. If it's a perfect hole, there might be a little bit of gap. I personally don't like that. You don't have to be that close with it, you know, it really doesn't matter. It's more of a preference thing, obviously, but I'm going with a smaller in the 20 size bit, just so that I can ease it round and round, and then when it's nice and snug, I can have less resistance, or no, I would have more resistance, but it would be snug instead of just kind of loose. Kind of depends on the way you do it. When you bolt these down, they're not supposed to be loose anyways, but I don't know, I'm just that kind of guy, I guess. So let's get to drilling here. What we're going to do is we're going to take this guy and I'm going to eyeball it. I kind of want him, doesn't really matter the position, you don't have to take this and turn it around. We actually don't even need the switch, but I kind of want it like, I'd say like right here. So I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm happy with that. Oops. Went a little too crazy there. That is plastic, so it is really easy, as you guys just saw, to go through. So that's kind of nice. So we can see here, it shouldn't fit. If it does, but yeah, we're off by just a little bit. So what I'm gonna do off camera is I'm just gonna very slowly oval that out, because it's plastic. I'm not gonna be hurting the bit. If it was metal, I wouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna slowly shave the outer circles out. Circles, geez, I'm gonna make it the hole bigger, and just kind of do it to my snug fit, my personal preference, and then after that we will continue with what we're doing here. So sorry if I'm being slow, or if my words aren't coming out right, but I did not have coffee this morning, so a bit tired, but I love doing this kind of stuff, personalizing mowers. Oh, gotta love it. Let's get to it. Shoo-wee, guys, I tell you something, it's coming together and it's looking good. It's looking a little messy down here, but that is what you get when you work with wiring on almost anything. So to start off with, I almost caught myself going a little gung-ho again, just, you know, continuing the project without the camera. Very sorry about that, but I caught myself in time and didn't go too far. With that said, we have the switch installed awesomely. So you can off, on, it's on there nice and solid. Actually, I might just give it a quick little turn. There we go. Now it's nice and straight. It's on there nice. But it's like I said, I just gave it a snug fit, and I just screwed it. I was able to screw it in and then lock it in. And the reason why is just that. You can get a nice and snug. So if that's something you guys are interested in, or perhaps maybe, you know, you've had this problem before and you just didn't know how to do it, there you go. Now you know. Now with that said, we are now stepping into the wiring phase. This is where I can explain the wiring a little better. Pretty much what you're going to do, guys, is you're going to pick a point and pick a starting point and pick an ending point. I'm going to start here, I'm going to end here. So what we're going to do is pretty much every wire on this light is going to connect to that light. Every wire on that light is going to connect to this light. Every wire on this light is going to connect to this light, but not every wire on this light is going to connect to the battery and switch. You see on the diagram here, you start on a yellow, we're starting on a yellow, and you end on a white. The white is useless. If you don't have any more lights, we do have more lights, but we're not going to put any more on here. That current is useless. It's just a dead wire. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be a dead wire. Probably not. You might just want to put some electrical tape on that. That's probably what I'm going to do for safety. But it's just, it doesn't do anything. There's no purpose. See, you're starting on a yellow, ending on a white. Starting there, ending here. All these wires are connecting to each other, except for the beginning and the end. You're going to have one wire that doesn't connect in the beginning. Actually, you shouldn't have any wires. Wait a minute. Yeah, no. All your wires should be connecting in the beginning. But you should only have one, maybe two, but it should be one wire, being the white wire that doesn't connect at the end. So with this light right here, we have it zip tied to the fuel pump. The reason why, you can see how I have the hood open here. The reason why is because you want to make sure that you're not going to overstretch the wiring. If you're bringing your hood down, right, and then you go to open it, and you didn't do your measurements correctly and it's getting tighter and tighter, you could snap the wiring, you could pull too much forward and break the light, you can do some damage. So you want to make sure you start wiring with the hood. If you're doing it my way, you're doing it with the hood already open so you can have the proper amount of slack. You can see here we have a nice amount of slack, so when I go to close the hood down, nothing's rubbing on anything. We can close it, bada bing, bada boom, and you know, you can be able to have some nice wiring done. So it is important to do that, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. But what we're going to do is we're going to connect the yellows and the whites all around here up to here, the blacks and the reds all around here up to here, and then from here on it's going to look a little complicated, but I promise you guys it's pretty freaking simple where to put the wires as far as batteries and switches go. So it's pretty much that simple. I know I was trying to, you know, it almost sounds like I'm trying to make a production number out of it or make it rocket science. Not trying to. It's literally that simple. I should have explained it a little better, but here we are. So just like that. And I'm going to be filming every step of the way here for this wiring because, you know, you want to make sure you're doing it right. When we get to about this light or this light, I might speed it up a little bit because it's, once you do the first one and the second one and the third one, it's the same thing all the way up until you find your last one that you're happy with. So there's a little something there for you as well. I also just noticed when I was closing this hood down, I'm noticing the wire is stretching right there. So I got to give it more slack. That's why you have the hood up. So without further ado, I think what we'll do is we're obviously going to start here, but I'm going to need a second to kind of map out where we want this wiring to go. I'm kind of thinking we're starting here, obviously. We'll kind of run it up against, yeah, I might run it up against the blower shroud, probably up to about here. And then, or maybe up to this bolt, it'll be a little easier. We'll run it up into this bolt, kind of like that. And then from the bolt, we'll just shoot right down, and we have a nice angle to shoot down to the foot guard. Or I take the bolt and I shoot across into the firewall and then go into the foot guard. I might do that actually, because when you have it going down like that, this is all open area, so we don't want to have that. So that's probably what I'll do. And then we'll just kind of piece this little by little. We want to take our time. We don't want to screw this up because I do not want to have a shop fire. So see, the wires are looking pretty alright. Didn't get nicked. These little, you know, some of you guys might be wondering what these are. These are just little pre-spliced pieces of wire. So you can just take one wire, pull it out, and there you go. You get a nice piece of fresh wire there for you. Alright, so let me cut off the zip tie here, give myself some more slack, and then we'll start piecing this thing together. Since you guys already know the drill, I'm probably going to do that off camera, and then we'll probably just reroute the wires from the foot guard from here up to the foot guard nice and tight, keeping everything close to the frame as we can, since that's going to be a nice sturdy piece to protect the wiring. And then we'll head to light, and we will start the very first light to light connection, so stay tuned. Alrighty guys, quick update here. We're not done yet, but sun's starting to set. I'm hoping I can get this done at least by nighttime. There's a lot of wire going on here, running a lot of wire. But here's what we got. We got these two spliced up and open, the yellow and the white, and we're starting off with the positive and negative. The reason why is because to handle 4 wires at once, it is going to be a son of a gun, and I just don't want to deal with that right now, so I'm going to take them piece by piece. We have the red and black running through the dash instead of right through here, just because I didn't feel comfortable with it. I like this anyways because it runs right through the frame. You can't even see it. You can just see the zip ties. But it runs right up against the frame, and that's nice and tough. So that goes through the frame. It stops right here, comes up, following this body line here. And then we go from the body line up to this arch right here. And you can see there is our wiring. And what I do is I just wrap it in electrical tape, the connections where we have to splice more wiring. Because, you know, you can't have just one big thing of wiring. There's a lot of turns and stuff. So what I do is I just wrap in electrical tape, and then I zip tie the left and the right to make sure that it doesn't unfold over time. I've done that with this mower, that mower, the Craftsman 2, the Poulon. They work amazing. Never had a problem with them. So we run it all the way here to this light. So now we have these two lights connected, which then runs all the way right across here. And we run it to this light, which then goes over the gas tank. That's right, so it's nice and protected. There's nothing drooping. Nothing drooping. Well, there's wires drooping there now because I haven't finished it yet. And then it runs from the top of the gas tank over back here to the body, droops down from the body, follows the frame again, and here we are. So the hope is I'm just going to follow the frame probably till about, probably right here, this hole right here. And then from there, I'm going to come out and I'm going to meet with him, but I haven't decided if I want to do that or, and I might actually do this now that I literally just thought about this, going through the frame, but then coming out right here, and then we both meet by the cowl of the hood or by inside the firewall, and then we switch it up with the switch. We wire it up to the switch and the battery, and then we run more line so we can get the yellow and white wires all dolled up, and pretty much the same idea, but just less wire. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's coming together. It's coming together. I'm really liking this. Man, I can't wait to see what it looks like. But this is what I was telling you guys about. I get a lot of this wiring by the roll, and I had some pretty nice wiring, but I'm getting really low on the rolls now. And this it doesn't look like it, but it is actually red. It's just really faded out. I've gotten down to the bottom of the roll of the wiring spool, so I am gonna have to get more. But you can see right here, this is what I'm talking about. I learned that one myself. Does it last forever? Absolutely not, but it does last a good while. I've gotten 5-6 years out of doing something like that, and it's just a neater job. And if you don't have connectors with you, I'm completely out of connectors. You know, that's something you can do. I might have a few connectors left, and if I do, I'm going to use them for the switches and the battery, not so much for this kind of wiring here. It's just not necessary. So yeah, what I've learned from today so far is I'm gonna have to buy a few hundred feet more of wiring because we're getting low. But I am using the same gauge kind of wire, so we're not going from something teensy weensy to something large back to teeny. We're not doing that. So I'm starting on a gauge and I'm leaving on a gauge. So hopefully we'll see what happens. I am going to hook up a fuse somewhere between here and the wire and the battery to the wiring, because like I said before, you really don't want to run this stuff straight on the battery. It works, but if you have a short in the wiring system, something happens, maybe two pieces of metal rub against each other and it causes a connection in between or a break in between your wiring, it's just going to burn out your lights in an instant. Your lights won't even have a chance. So I'm going to put a fuse on because I did pay pretty good coin. Well, these are pretty expensive lights for like 50-60 bucks. That's pretty expensive for 4. But, you know, we'll see what we can do. So we're gonna finish up the wiring here, and I'm gonna get back to you guys when we're about to set up the wiring for the switches. We'll show you guys that, show you the wiring for the battery, and if luck is on our side, we'll flip that switch and we'll have ourselves some wee-woos. Shoo-wee. Let's get to it. Alrighty guys, we got the whole thing wired up. Let me show you here. We've got that plug over there. The bottom is a single plug with 2 wires coming out of it, negative to the battery, to the switch, and then negative from the switch to the negative line we have coming down here, which we got from all these other lights. I know the wire looks pretty messy, and if you ask me, it's kind of crude, but I ran out of wire. I was only working with what I had, but you guys can at least get the idea. I did order some new wiring, some more zip ties, and some electrical connectors, so we probably will be getting back to this. I'll either do it on camera as a YouTube short or off camera, either way. I'll get back to this, make it a lot nicer, but at least we can be able to drive it around, make it look cool, and it's awesome, guys. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's awesome. I'll show you here. Come over here to this side. They're not all perfectly in sync, but they're all in the same mode, which is interesting. I kind of like that. I do like this mode anyways. So what I'll probably do, guys, like I said, is get some more wire and then make these in sync. But let's take it up to the top of the driveway up there and see how it looks with a nice background to it. So meet you over there. Look at that. That is awesome. Looking good. And what I love about it is I love how the switch is nice and red. Look at that. All well done. Well guys, with all that said and done, I know this was a long one, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Link for these lights and the switches and everything in the description below. Please check them out. They are awesome. I highly recommend them, especially for the price. Yeah, stay tuned for more Impossible Mowers content. We have those other mowers, don't worry, we're going to be getting. But just wow. Wow. That looks awesome. Nice and quiet. That's pretty cool. Well, like I said, with all that said and done, hope you guys stay safe. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That's right, I'm talking to you right there. And stay tuned for more Impossible Mowers content. This is Impossible Mowers out.